Anybody
Matt,
else got any
yeah,
questions?
I was
Go
just going
ahead.
to share a little one with Matt that I've been doing with my players, or I guess when we were allowed to practice or go on the ice.
Yeah.
We're in lockdown again. Yay.
Yeah.
I think I've been in lockdown since November. I'm not sure much has changed for me, but um, one thing I started doing that was kind of fun, and it sounds like you have a bit of an army of a staff, so maybe this is something you could do. But we started doing when someone got player of the game, they got a personalized sort of like autogenic script, like what Wally's talking about for me. So I've been told I have a bit of a calming yoga voice when I'm not yelling at them. And so if they won player of the game, I would create them their own little, I guess motivational, like 2 minute script that they could listen to before games. And these were players I knew well. Obviously, they were on my team, so I could, if it was a goalie, I would say it in a certain way. But I basically had a standardized script, similar to what Wally sent me over a couple months ago. And then I would ask the player, well, do you want just your name inserted in that script, or do you want something specific about your position? And, it might have taken me 20 minutes to do it. It wasn't looking for perfection, but it certainly was motivating. Like, they got so fired up when they won their like little personalized script versus like wearing the hat or whatever. We did it. We did it for about 10 games, but one of the players who's, I think she's going to Windsor next year, I did it for once and she listened to it all season long. And the same with the goalie. Like, they listened to it, they just loved it. And so, I know a lot of the mental resources say, create your own script or follow this script, but they found it to be pretty powerful to have it come from someone else
Yeah.
in a familiar voice, kind of like what Wally was saying. But, I don't know if it's a sustainable thing to do, maybe not something you can do for everybody, but if, you're going in waves and maybe it's mental training week or it's a month where you're focusing on it a little bit more. I know it was a very popular thing with my team to
Yeah.
have access to that, and they really loved it. With the girls, they they eat that kind of stuff up. So they certainly tried a little harder that month to kind of win that prize. It was good. It was
Yeah.
good motivation for them. But I'm glad they've sustained it. Like you said, they have we try to supply them with a bunch of tools so they can pull out the wrench when they need the wrench, or the hammer when they need the hammer. But that's just a fun idea. We tried last year. It really served us well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Do you have the copyright on it, or am I allowed to try something similar?
Matt, I've borrowed so much stuff from you. Feel free. If it doesn't work, throw me under the bus, or just
So,
use it on my old players first, and that way at least they'll be familiar with it.
so, so you wouldn't have done this with Allison and Quinn, but you did it with Maddie?
Yep. Maddie
Okay.
would have been there for it. I don't think Allison and Quinn were there. I mean, I did mental stuff with them all the time, but this sort of these personalized scripts, Briggsy would be the only one
Okay.
who has been party to it. I don't know that she received one specifically. Maddie always played well all the time, so it's hard to make her player of the game. She was always like,
Yeah.
she was one of those players. Always did everything right, so she never stood out because that was what you expected of her.
Yeah.
But yeah, she would be familiar with it. Like I said, they liked it, but I
Yeah.
also enjoyed doing those scripts in front of the team and using those as exercises. And actually, we did a lot of them over Zoom this year because we weren't able. And I found actually a lot of this mental training is very good in a group environment virtually, because I find when you do it in the dressing room as a group, it's a bit awkward.
Mhm.
They're trying to deep breathe and like, who's looking at me, or like, that person sounds funny, or it just has a different feeling. The feedback I got from my players who are familiar with the mental training work we've done is they actually like it better on Zoom,
Hmm.
because they're in their own space. So they're doing it together. They're all hearing the same message, but they're not. And again, maybe this is just a teenage girl thing.
Yeah.
They're less worried about what's going on around them. So
Right.
especially when you're talking about breathing technique and that, like, it can be a little silly at first if they're not familiar. So I found it worked really well. It was another thing that I often find I rush when I'm in, the locker room environment, because we have to go on the ice or we just came off the ice. And I think I did it a little bit more justice in the virtual environment, and put a lot more time and effort and focus towards it. And the players said that, it resonated more with them in that environment as well. So,
Yeah.
just in case you're not spending enough time in the virtual universe and you want to do more.
Yeah. So just so so it's basically just an audio clip that you attach to an email and send them to.
Yeah, I do it on QuickTime. Like, I'm a Mac person. I do it on QuickTime. I'm a one-take wonder, so I don't try to edit it. I just do it. But again, I have a standardized kind of script about, like Wally was saying, about how you feel, and the sound of the ice and the feeling of the and those types of things, which is universal. But like I said, with the goalie, I did it a little differently. And with some of the players, I would do it a little differently. If I had coached them long enough, with your players, you may have players who've done it for 3 or 4 years, so you would know them quite well.
Right.
So they enjoyed it, and honestly, like, I think it was between 2 and 4 minutes. It was not terribly long, but kind of more like, you're going out for a warm up, or the puck gets dropped on the first shift, and here's how you feel, or here's how you approach it, type of feeling. So they would use it to fire themselves up before a game,
Right.
less as a relaxation. I had a scripted relaxation technique that I put on audio and sent to all of them. And I'm not sure how many of them use it consistently. Certainly not many this year, although they might have a lot of anxiety this year for other reasons. So that's a pretty standardized one. Very similar to what Wally sent me of the relaxation. But that fire up script, kind of get them going, I would personalize a little bit more.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great idea. I love it. Yeah, I'm going to add that to my own toolbox.
Yeah, you got
Matthew, the original script I got, my sports psych class, my first year of university, it was written by Vanek, the sports psychologist from the Czech Republic.
Yeah. I think you shared that with me, Wally.
Yeah,
like
I shared it with you.
Queens, you shared that one with me. Yeah.
Well, that's the script that I memorized, and I do it deliberately all the time. The night before our Olympic final in Salt Lake City against the Americans, Coach Silvershow asked me to do a relaxation session. She gave me a couple pages out of Tarasov's book that were designed to motivate players, talking about the Canadian hockey psyche. But the pages weren't really suited to females, so I had to paraphrase what she gave me and use that script. And honest to goodness, the performance state they were in after having a great night's sleep, positive imagery, and it's not hypnosis. They don't fall asleep, but it carried us through a pretty difficult competition. I really credit, we didn't just do it that night. We had a few sessions during the year. So that's an example of when you've experienced it working like that, and to hear what Kim is doing with her players, it's really an untapped tool that they can master once you provide the tools for them to listen to, like her voice, knowing your voice, and writing a script. Kim, I would imagine you might write different scripts, am I right? For different players, or different scripts for different times and situations. Is that?
Yep. Yeah. But usually it was more generic they could use as a pregame tool that I focused on. But I would do it with them pregame with a different script, maybe situationally if we wanted to, throughout the year. I would say I did it pretty consistently, like once a month at least,